Hello, welcome back to the live stream with Rachel and Carrie. I'm Rachel. I know my email said featuring Intimate Alien today. Sorry about that. I forgot to take that out, but she lives within me, so we can bring her out if we need to. I'm the founder of the Intuitive Art Academy, and Carrie here is your business BFF. And if you happen to be on a track or cross country team, she can be your coach. So we are excited today to talk about your body. I think it doesn't get talked about enough in our space because we're always, vibration, your higher self, right? Like all of the things that we think of as expansion and multidimensional energy. But don't forget, we chose to have bodies right now. And speaking of Intimate Alien, she chose not to. So we are non-physical beings, but we are focusing ourselves here to have the appearance, at least, of a physical body. And there's so much magic in this body. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about using your body, what your body is designed to do, how amazing your body is, and so much more. So this is a very different conversation, but I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat or the comment section if you're watching the replay. And hey, what's up, Carrie? Carrie was just using her body, it seems. She's in her workout clothes.
Yes, I told Rachel, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to get a shower today. So you guys are getting the unedited version of Carrie today. Yeah, so you guys, I use my body a lot because I'm out there coaching high school kids. And in the summertime, I'm coaching them in the mornings before I start my workday. Sometimes that means I don't get a shower right away. But I am interested in this conversation for lots of reasons because there's a book in like mainstream psychology right now. I think it's called The Body Keeps Score or The Body Never Forgets, or there's something like that around like what we hold in our body. And yeah, I think that we don't, we tend to talk about being vibrational, but Rachel, you do a lot of talking around, can you let it into your body? Can you let your body align with it? And so I'm excited for this conversation. I'm interested to see where it goes. But in terms of our body's secrets, like when I have taken the time or worked with like an energy healer or something to like really connect with my parts of my body, sometimes I will have pain that I've done all the things, all the physical therapy or whatever, and I'll look at it from an energetic angle. And man, is that interesting, right? Recognizing like, oh, when I tuned in to my shin, there was all sorts of shame there, right? Like who knew? And so I'm interested to have that conversation today, talking just about our body's secrets. And the last thing I'm thinking of, Rachel, is my sort of introduction to this world that I live in now was through Louise Hay and through Oprah to Louise Hay. And that, I can't remember the book, You Can Heal Your Life, which is about you can heal your body. So yeah, cool stuff coming up. Is it my internet that's not, am I okay still?
It's a little pixely at times, but I can hear you.
Okay. I closed some things. There's people working in the house, and for some reason the internet's not great. Cool. Okay, so let's dive in. Hey everybody. I see we've got the usual suspects here.
Yes. Hello, Guillaume. Hello, Katerina. Thank you for coming. Well, I do want to start off with my trusty. Who knew when I bought this, I don't know, 20 years ago, that it would be so handy now? So why do we always talk about being multidimensional and our higher selves and your vibration? Why is it so important that our vibrations are on point and not like the doing of things? This is a hard stance that I have just because of what I've observed. And, you don't have to believe this, but I really am at that point where like I've not seen any evidence to the contrary that all like manifestations trickle down from our vibrational state. So how we feel dictates everything, our thoughts, our emotions, and our physical being. So that book about the body keeps the score, you can find the evidence of your vibrational misalignment in the body. But we don't need to like go in search of and heal the stuff in the body in order to get rid of it. And so I want to keep this conversation. I mean, I'm open to talk about any of this, but I really like that point of view for all of this because our bodies are light manifestations, just like everything else. Like we are basically in a holographic world right now with a holographic body with perception that makes it all seem real. That's how I live. That's my point of view. And there's a lot of science to back that up as well, which I honestly don't care about because I don't need that to validate myself. But it makes things lighter to think about that. It makes things feel less daunting to change or move, right? Because if all we need to do then is go back to our vibration and it will change our body and our physical reality, well, that's a lot easier than having to manipulate all the physical reality, including our bodies. So sometimes I talk to my clients a lot about their bodies because a lot of them want to be in smaller bodies, right? Like a lot of people struggle with their weight or just their body composition or how they look in some way. And that is a great thing to talk about because that also starts with your vibration. And if you can find a way to feel better, more inspired, more relaxed, then you're going to get the inspiration to do the things that will help the body. You guys know I go to Orange Theory. I love that gym. And that was really because I also wanted to change my body. I wanted to be stronger. I wanted to add a layer of muscle around my bones because, frankly, between you and me, I like to think that my body is just hollow and there's nothing going on in there. And I don't even want to see my bones. I don't really like bones. They kind of freak me out. So if I can cover them all up with muscle, that would be great. So yeah, Carrie, you've never heard that before. Eric knows all too well. Oh, I hate bones. But anyway, that was all like an inspiration and led to multidimensional results because I didn't force myself to go work out out of shame or guilt or fear or anything like that. I aligned vibrationally and then the inspiration trickled down and finally got to my physical reality. So, yeah, we started talking about a whole tangent and I want to get to another topic, but let's open it back up to exercise because I know a lot of people are like super interested in their bodies and how they look. So, is there anywhere else we want to go with that or do you want to add stuff?
Well, you got me thinking, and guys, chime in the chat. You got me thinking. Oh, okay. You keep freezing, and I keep worrying. I'm just not going to worry. You got me thinking about how and when I've wanted to change my body and what has actually worked. Right. So, how many times that someone has said, like, oh, I did this program, like it really worked. You should try it. Right. That almost never works. um, versus for whatever reason, not whatever reason, right? Finally getting my vibration to a place where I'm led to something that I feel inspired to do that becomes easy to execute that then like is amazing, right? And so I just wanted to say that like there are so many different programs and plans and things that work. That's my air quotes. When really like our higher selves, if we can just, oh, I'm yawning. if we hit vibration first, then the path of least resistance to what we want will show up for us. And I have experienced that in the past, I don't know, 6 or 8 months. And it has been joyful after several years of really kind of fighting against my body, or feeling like my body was fighting against me. I felt like I was inspired to go down a certain path, and now have found ease, and nothing is off limits, and satisfaction with like my physical body. Like all of that is working and happening. So just sort of, I guess, an acknowledgement. An exercise too. Actually, Rachel, as I'm talking, all that time I was at odds with my body. There was injury after injury after injury. And then once I found kind of my groove, um, found a way that I felt like I was honoring myself and honoring my body and doing what I felt inspired to do. Um, Injuries also have gone away, right? Part of what I was inspired to do was a little routine to take care of my injuries, but also now they're gone. So I'm feeling quite aligned and at home again in my body, which is something I want to talk about with you if you don't mind. Do you want to talk about being at home in our bodies?
Yeah, I do. But can I insert
Yes.
something that I think you'll also have something to talk about? So basically, I've always really loved intense physical exercise because it regulates my energy and I just feel better. But there are so many things that I've experienced in the last like 7 months after consistently doing it that actually prompted me to do this topic today. And it was like I was working out the other day and it was really hard because I had taken 4 days off to go be with my BFFs. Actually, Carrie, we got to fill people in on how that went. Um, and I was feeling like legit high. Like it was hard, but I was running and I was just like, I feel incredible. Like there's just certain paces that you hit too. Like I know you're familiar with this where like you could run at that pace forever. It feels like, even though I probably couldn't, but I was like, I never want to stop running, like I have that feeling. And that took me a while to get to because first of all, I wasn't a runner when I started back up, but um I just like even with body stuff, you are inspired to do a certain thing, right? You want to change your body, you want to lose weight or whatever, and you find the inspiration to do the thing that will work for you. But there's so much more waiting for you. There's so many more like amazing things your body can hand you once you're in alignment in your body. And so I'm sure that's where Carrie is probably wanting to go next. But I just wanted to say, like, your body can surprise you in so many fabulous ways because it is the perceiver of all of this. And it can perceive the most amazing, unexpected things. You're mute.
I was talking away. That gave me a yawn, and it got me thinking about a friend that I know Rachel follows on Instagram, Yellow Runner. For those of you who don't know, her name is Sally McRae, and she does like what I consider crazy endurance races. She's racing like a 200-mile race this weekend. But she talks about really like when she found her greatest success, her greatest joy in what she was doing was when she stopped trying to make her body a certain way and started listening to what she really wanted. Like she just kept wanting to feel strong. She wanted to be stronger. And she's in this world of distance running where everybody's like skin and bones, Rachel, bones. Um, um, and she just like was embracing her own body, which was naturally built for more strength, built for like she has a sturdier build to begin with. And just like embracing that and loving that and listening to what her body wanted. And as she did that, her body showed her kind of wow, whole new levels of what she could do. Um, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. In terms of finding your pace, I think that's the beauty of when we stop fighting our body. and when we start to honor what it really wants. Because our bodies, at the end of the day, they really want nutritious foods. They really want plenty of hydration. They really want like to be strong and fit. Like our bodies want to experience what they're built to do, what they can do. And I know like my husband will be like, my body craves beer. My body really wants beer. And I would say everything in moderation. But like when you really get to it, no, it doesn't. Because if you have too much of that, you don't feel good when you wake up the next day, or sugar or whatever. I'm not saying be crazy, restrict yourself from everything. I had 2 cookies before this conversation. Um,
I
but like,
had a brownie.
so let's be transparent. Um, but also, like, our bodies do want vegetables. How many of you have, like, I know sometimes when I go on vacation or when I like eat out too many days in the row, will like after a certain time be like, I just want a salad. I just need like you start to like your body tells you what it wants. I don't know where I was going with that anymore. I've completely lost my train. So bring me back, Rachel.
Well, I think we're going to talk about being at home in your body. And that's part of it. It's about listening to your body. And, I've gone through a lot of phases of that, which have shown me a lot of different things. Like I grew up with an autoimmune disease that I didn't know about, and I never felt healthy. I literally thought that everyone pooped once a week. And yeah, until I was like 20 years old. I always thought I was pregnant as a little kid. I mean, I didn't know what it meant. Obviously, there's nothing weird about that, but like because my stomach was always so distended, I looked like a pregnant 6-year-old. You know what I mean? But like we didn't know. Nobody knew. And so once I figured out, oh, it's because of the food that I'm eating, because there's no medication for celiac. Um, and I also found out over the years I have different allergies as well as the celiac disease. So when I was like in my early 20s, I thought, oh, well, I'll just eat a raw food diet. It wasn't the fad that it is now. No one was really talking about it. There were a couple books though back then, and I experienced health for the first time ever. That's when I started running distance the first time. That's when I started doing yoga because I had energy. I would wake up in the morning like, oh my God, I'm ready to go. I've never felt this before. And after a little while, my body actually felt harmonized. Like that's an option that we have. We can feel sluggish, we can feel harmonized, we can feel all the things in between. And it was like, oh, my body's so specific to me, powerful, responsive, right? It does tell me what it wants because when I drink this vegetable juice, my body sings. I can feel the cells like rejoice. I know it sounds so weird, but it's true for me. And yet when I eat other things, if I eat some ice cream or something, I instantly just feel bad. And it's funny, when I finally realized I had an egg allergy just maybe this year, I like definitively defined it. I would put something, I think Carrie even said this about her son recently. I touched my tongue to something and I was like, oh, no, 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 it's absolutely that. I absolutely cannot eat that. And so our bodies are just so willing to give us information about how to feel better because they want to feel better, like Carrie's saying, and they can feel better. And it's honestly like I can eat a brownie when I want to, because I only want to as much as it will feel good. And I can't eat Snickers anymore, but I used to eat a Snickers quite often because it was really fun and I loved it. But once you get into like your own rhythm with your body and you listen to it, you sort of don't have to worry about what you're eating because you're just naturally going to eat what feels good. And that's also going to change your appearance and how you feel day to day. So being at home in your body is really about listening and responding and getting a relationship going, right? Not judging the things from your mind, but letting your body have a say in what will work for you.
I didn't know we were going here today, but that is actually something. I have a friend who's a dietitian, and she really helps people like do mindful eating, right? Like mindful practices with their foods and listening to your body's response. Like, just basically, this is for you, Dale. She said she's interested in learning more about how to listen to your body experiences and tips. So, this was her thing, was recognizing, oh, if I slow down and I listen instead of just like, I'm so hungry, gobble, gobble, like take some time and find what textures are pleasing to me. Rachel and I just spent some time with someone who's like, they have a texture based diet. And I was like, whoa, that's new. And what things like when I eat them feel good. And now with you and your egg allergy, right? You recognize it's not like you wanted to realize being allergic to eggs is inconvenient, right? So it was like there was resistance in like, it can't be this, it can't be that. I could probably do this still, right? But once you got, and you were eating things that had eggs in them and not feeling that tongue sensitivity, right? Before you were just eating them. But
it changed over the years because like most people, like I went in and out of the listening part with that particular thing. Yeah.
Yes. But when you really, now that you're aware, right, you can actually trust your body to tell you, even before it barely touches your mouth. You can trust your body to tell you, oh, that's good or not good. And I'm thinking about so many people do muscle testing. Like, I don't know, I had my son did this for allergies. He didn't have to consume the thing. He could just hold it in his hand and we could muscle test and know if that was something that was going to be beneficial for his body to take in or something that was not going to be beneficial to his body to take in. I think that is incredible. I think that's amazing. I think there's so much. In my book, I talk about that our body is an instrument, right? It is it's like a receiver and a projector, like it can send things out and it can also receive. And I just think that's so cool. Like, we're here. You started talking about Intimate Alien. Like, she's here from time to time. I love it when she experiences your body, actually, when she like looks through your eyes or touches things, right? Like, but we're here right now to use these physical bodies. And so it's interesting that we ignore them or resist them or fight against them so much.
Yeah, I know. The instrument piece is pivotal, right? Like, why do we have a body? It's so that we can experience our creation, right? We're creating this whole earth thing, right? In conjunction with the being that is earth. And we are experiencing it through our senses in our body. So our mind is making sense of all of the things that are around us using, our sight and our smell and our touch and our hearing and all of the senses beyond what we think of as normal, because we are experiencing extrasensorily, even if we can't, pinpoint what that is. This is an extrasensory experience. And so, yeah, our body is our instrument, and it's also our feedback instrument. So we know where we are vibrationally within our body, which is really important, because if there's anything you're seeing that you don't like, right, you are going to know because you don't feel good when you look at it, right? But how do you change that? Well, then we got to go back up to the vibration of it, or just use your body to look away from the thing that doesn't feel good. I had this really, when I conceived of this whole topic yesterday, I was talking about some things that I just, old past things that I left behind a really long time ago on purpose. And I didn't feel good after talking about them, which duh, right? I was talking about something I didn't enjoy. And I felt it. I felt like down and unmotivated and just like not good. And especially after coming off such an amazing weekend, I was like, this doesn't feel right. I don't like this at all. But I was going to the gym and I knew I'd feel better because I would be in my body using it and like, lifting heavy weights because that's what I did last night. And so I did. I felt better afterwards. I put on an Abraham on the way home and it felt amazing. And it's so incredible that we can use our bodies in such strategic ways to help us feel better and get to a higher vibration. But it's all in conjunction, right? We can't separate ourselves from our higher self. We can't separate ourselves from our body, unless we completely want to be non-physical, but we'll get there. We don't need to rush that. And so there's just so much we can do if we utilize this, right? And if we take care of it, it is a representation of a higher dimensional love that we have for ourselves. So when we spend time in meditation or journaling or just caring for ourselves more, it's going to trickle down into our bodies and we're going to take care of our bodies better. And that's going to unleash a whole lot more pleasure and joy and ease literally in our whole life. It's a wonderful system of feedback that we create.
As you were talking, Dale has a question, but I was thinking about the before and after photos I've seen. I've seen before and after photos of people who, like, before they quit drinking and after they quit drinking, and those are like super dramatic. But also before, what they look like, and after they meditated daily for 30 days. Like, they didn't even have to, maybe they gave up drinking, I don't know, but their physical changes are incredible. And that's just from raising their vibration. That's pretty cool.
It is cool. I know. I try not to pay too much attention to how old I look because it's easy to get in your head about stuff like that. But every time I go see my mom, she's like, are you just getting younger or like, what's going on? People, I don't know, people call me kid all the time still, but like, I really think it's because we can go to the embodying thing now. Like, when you embody your own energy, your higher dimensional energy, which is another reason why we're here, because we're here to know that we're creators and to be more powerful in our lives, you project an aura that is timeless, it's ageless, it's unlimited. And that affects your cells. Your cells live in that energy. They can harmonize with that energy. And you don't need, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not aging, but like, you don't need to, we're just light projections anyway. Light doesn't age. So we haven't even come close to using the potential of what we are, which I'm fine with. I don't need to optimize everything, but I do like the effects of embodying my own energy and making myself at home here, and even going deeper. Like, so y'all, Carrie and I met, we got to hug each other for the first time. And a lot of the weekend we talked about and really were working in the energy of being more grounded and more comfortable on this earth so that we could experience more physically while we're here. So we did a lot of embodiment stuff, which included, of course, the fun things like going swimming and meditating and holding hands and doing all kinds of fun things. So yeah, it's definitely fun to have a body.
Well, so something came up this weekend. So I don't want to ignore Dale's question. The question was just about like how do you use the body to look away? And I think all Rachel meant was like physically moving your body, turning your back on whatever. Yeah. So like turning your head like this.
Yeah. Go do something else. Look in a direction that feels better. Take a nap. Yeah. Go for a walk. Mm-hmm.
So, but back to the embodiment thing. So, when we were there were 4 of us women there. We are all incredible, powerful, magical beings who really honor and appreciate. It was so nice to be with uh people who are on the same page, right? We were able to connect there in the way that we did because like we're vibrationally close anyways. Um but two of you, Rachel and one other person, kind of said they spent a lot of time, especially in their youth, feeling disconnected from their bodies. Like they didn't feel at home in their bodies, even that they didn't feel at home necessarily on earth. And then me and this other woman were like, I was like, I hear you guys when you're saying that. Like I acknowledge it. I can intellectually think about how that might be. And I have never felt that. I've maybe have had like if anything, I've gone the other way where I've been like overly connected to my body. So where like Rachel and this other woman had an experience of knowing they were a spiritual being and having kind of a hard time like funneling themselves into their body. I came from the other direction where I was like deeply connected to the physical and had a hard time understanding that I could be more, that I could be bigger than my edges. And I think that, I don't know where that's going with the secrets of our body, but I think that is interesting. Really interesting that we're like now, I mean, we've sort of met at this moment where we're kind of all 4 of us in the same place, but 2 of us were like, oh yeah, no, I was deeply connected to the physical, and the 2 other were like, nope, no, it took me a long time to get at home in here, and in fact I still sometimes have to remember. So I don't know if you want to have that conversation, but I found that fascinating.
Yes. And Dale, thank you for your question. It was a really good one. Um, you know, I've had a lot of different experiences in my body. I wouldn't say, because I'm just going to preface, because I'm going to say something kind of radical, but I wasn't an abused kid or anything. Like, I know that what I'm about to say happens a lot to people who are in really tough situations. I didn't grow up in a completely ideal home because no one does, but my parents loved me and I knew that, and I never questioned their love and care and any of that stuff. So, but I experienced constant like dissociation, especially in high school, where I would wake up and feel like, where have I been for 3 months? Like, I have not been here. Where am I? What am I doing? What the fuck is going on? And honestly, I still have versions of that. Like, I just sort of had another like wake up a couple weeks ago, which doesn't surprise me because of how I've been feeling this year. But it wasn't as extreme. Like, I knew what I was doing, but part of me left for some reason. Now, this could be because I'm a group being, which you guys know I identify as being like sort of a braid of different beings all in one. So I'm not just one soul. So maybe part of that pulled out and did other things, right? I don't really know. But as a kid in my, teens and 20s, it was so severe that I would get really worried sometimes, like, because I really sometimes would not have memory of what I had done in the previous months of my entire life. So, yeah, as a little kid, I also would have trouble. Like, I'd forget how to walk often. My mom even asked me, like, you're not from here, huh? Or like, you haven't been on Earth in a long time. Like, my mom had that awareness of me. Um, and so it took me a long time to find myself in my body and to like get to know it better. And um, I've definitely experienced myself more as a multidimensional being than a physical being, which I still do. But I've also never been that like, you know, stereotypical star seed of like, I don't feel like this is my home. I actually had a quantum healing hypnosis session when I was like 28, where I saw Intimate Aliens Planet for the first time. And I started bawling and crying, and I said, oh my God, that's my home. I'm home. Like, so I had the experience of feeling home elsewhere. But as it comes to like earthly life, I never felt like staring up at the stars and like thinking something else was my home. So I'm sort of like in between, but also maybe a little more extreme on one side. And I don't know what necessarily caused that, but yeah, I haven't had like a seamless integration into this earth plane, that's for sure.
Which you guys I find fascinating. And yet it's in the chat, right? Like this is not an uncommon experience. Even Dale's saying it wasn't until maybe a few weeks ago that she began feeling in her body down to her toes. She thinks maybe she just wasn't grounded up until then. And like doing the grounding work was important. And like you just said, Dale's commenting some more. She said she used to believe that the physical, the body, were less or just not as important as the spiritual self aspects. And that's why I like this conversation, is because I mean, I feel like on in these conversations, we do a good job of saying like it's all connected. We do spend a lot of time sort of in the non-physical, but it's all connected.
And our non-physical is what's creating our physical. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just as spiritual. Even the, you know, the fancy makeup I buy is just as spiritual as my higher self, right? Because it's a pleasure, it's a joy, it's a creation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people on the spiritual path are sort of told or judgmental of people who are on like the very physical path, but like all paths lead the same place.
Yeah, and you know, this is a thing that happens a lot when people are first starting to realize that they are more, you know, they're spiritual beings, is then they start to look around and be like, whoa, everyone else's problem, you know? But the fact is, like, we're all here for our own reasons, and everyone is divinely connected and divinely sourced, and, you know, like projecting themselves here in the same way that we are. And so there's nothing lesser about anyone else's chosen path. And the more we can celebrate everyone's choices, the more in alignment we'll be with our own as well.
I don't know if that was an intentional segue, but I felt it um, about everybody's choices. Well, I guess that's a little tricky because it's not so much of a choice, but let's just talk about how there is an upsurgence in people like feeling safe enough to say, oh, I was born into the wrong body. I was born into like my gender and my body aren't the same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that. Mm-hmm.
let's go there. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So we can experience whatever we want here, right? We are sovereign beings, and there've always been people coming to this planet born with a certain sex distinction, usually because they have certain sex organs that are present in their body. But then when they begin living their life and understanding themselves, um, they decide, oh, I'm not what you said I am. I'm not what my body says I am. And different cultures have accepted that to different degrees, just, you know, because that's what they did. You know, there's just different. I want to talk about kind of like how a lot of people who have this were the shamans earlier, or they had different sort of roles in society. But now, of course, in America, and everything's so connected with social media, you get all kinds of opinions on what these people should or shouldn't do. But really, they came in to experience themselves exactly how they wish to and what they feel they are, right? You can't you can't argue with someone about their own truth. And so I think yeah, we are in a place where there's a lot more safety in numbers, right? So like we're more connected. All of the smaller minority groups are connected via social media, and but there is a lot also of people who are deciding, okay, well now I can talk about it and I disagree with you. And so there's a lot of really weird shit happening in local politics all over this country and all over the world that are denying those people's existence, which I'm very familiar with growing up as a very psychic human being and even, extraterrestrials. So, but why did we all decide to come in uniquely, right? Or in a fringe way? Because we wanted to experience ourselves this way, right? We're not here to prove anything. We're not here to teach people something. We're not here to throw down. We're just here to experience ourselves in our own truth. And this is the truth that we decided to have. So yeah, I always felt very connected to the transgender community. I am not transgender, but I am at my core non-binary. Even though I play around with all of it because sometimes female feels right, sometimes male feels right, sometimes nothing feels right, sometimes it all feels right. And I just go with that. And I think that's another thing that we really need to realize in all of this is that even if you're trans, you can decide what that means for you. That doesn't have to live up to anyone else's standards of what transgender means. And that's just the case with everything. You get to decide who you are, and no one else has any say in any of that. And so I just think people here get to live their own lives, and that's the beauty of Earth.
I really like the way you said that. And especially as you sort of are talking about yourself and your own experience. To me, that makes perfect sense for you. Like as you're talking about, I came in not like super comfortable in this body, and then like and maybe because, but it's like, oh yeah, so you came in with so much less of a like a identification with the physical, that you get to sort of try on, right? Different, like, where do I feel like identifying today? And even talking about being non-binary, and I see you as like uh the non-age, like there's no, I don't know what the right words are, but like it's a hard, like you were saying, sometimes people say you as kiddo, but you're like in your 40s, and like I could look at you and you could be anywhere, especially like through a screen. Man, you could be anywhere from like 20 to, I don't know, 65 with really good plastic surgery. So but all that to be said is like, oh, that like kind of makes sense to me. um I really like that, and I'm thinking about others who have come in less identified with their bodies. Um, yeah, I like that idea that we're all just here to experience ourselves and this particular body at this particular time. And that, going back to it, is an instrument. It's an instrument for us to experience. And I really like that. And just not trying to make it into more than it needs to be.
Yeah. And on this topic, some more, because your body is amazing. You get to decide all of this, everything about you, without any of society's input. Like one of the things that tickles me the most, makes me the most joyful, is seeing people who decided to just be themselves and not be you know smushed into what people think they should be. Like one of my favorite writers in psychology is a doctor, and she's transgender, but she didn't change her name or her appearance. So she's a bald man who's a woman, and a bald appearing man, you know what I mean? So I just really love that. And her name is Dr. Nick Walker. But like, you get to decide. You get to decide of whether you're transgender or not, whether you just always want to wear pants, or you want to paint your face blue, or you want to, have green hair, or you want to wear all your clothes at once, or whatever you want to do. Like, you get to do it. And no one else has to like it, right? For you to like it, you can feel easy in your body and truthful in your body without anyone else's consent.
So let's talk about the body secrets and shame within this context of, and I know we have about 15 minutes left, but like, okay. Rachel talked about we have a physical body and we also have this aura around us, right? That is bigger than us. And I just watched a terrible, wonderful show on Netflix called Glamorous. Have you seen it? Okay, Rachel, it's up your alley.
No, I can't. There's like violence in it, right? Isn't there like, no? Okay.
No,
Tell me more.
it's cheesy. I mean, like my kids walk in and they're like, Mom, this is bad. But it's also great. It's also great. And now I can't remember why I'm telling you this. Okay, hold on. I got distracted, guys.
Shame in the body.
Oh, thank you. And auras. So when you get to experience someone finally expressing themselves fully, being their fully embodied self, however that looks like. So I'm going to use my own example. Like early in my business, I thought I had to show up a certain way. And then one day I did like a live video from my car in my running clothes without makeup on. And it was like people all of a sudden were responding in a new way. And then I started doing like videos, like I would be on a run and I would stop and I would just like say something. It was like, oh, because for me, that was me wearing my truth, right? I wasn't wearing my truth when I would like make sure my hair was perfect. And like, I, I was trying to fit a mold, but also the opposite is true. Like, and I hope you guys know, like, such a fan of Queer Eye. Love Queer Eye. What they're helping people do is not fit a mold, right? But like express their fullness in a way that makes them feel good. And anyways, the show Glamorous, there's a character who is possibly transgendered, but definitely at the beginning of the show identifies as a gay male and dresses very female. And then he dates someone who wants him to be who he is and just show up physically different. Just maybe like dress a little manlier. And the whole thing is like, oh, I can't. Right? Like actually for me to be fully embodied, I actually have to use this body and dress this body and show up in this body in a way that is aligned with who I am. And so just for that, it's worth watching this cheesy show. I kind of liked it, but my kids were like,
I like cheesy. I thought you were talking about a different show. So yeah, that sounds right up my alley. Also the Pumpkin series, it's like a YA series. I think Julie someone is the author. I don't remember her last name, but really, really, really good. Pumpkin, something like that. It's really great. Similar sort of sounding characters.
But I think the important part in talking about this, Rachel, is just like there's nothing wrong with, however you were raised or what you think is right or appropriate or, oh, I could never do that. Like, you're never too old to just play with what you want. Dale was commenting about belly dancing, right? Like, using her body in that way helped her explore and understand her body wholeness. Like, I don't know, I'm thinking about Jonathan Van Ness and identifying one way at the beginning of when I started watching Queer Eye and like watching him step into the fullness of themselves. And your whole aura changes when you're standing in your truth.
Yep. I mean, just look at me and Intimate Alien, right? I prioritize comfort and ease, and I like to look natural. And yet Intimate Alien, who's a part of me all the time, likes over the top and, you know, flashy and color and sparkle, and a part of me likes that too. But you can sort of, and I feel very comfortable in Intimate Alien's looks even when I'm not her. But you can tell, like, anyway, you know what I mean. There is a natural expression that we all have access to that we can play around with and find. And it's really worthwhile to do that because it does help you click into a greater comfort in your body. It's really nice.
And so I don't know if this was where you intended for this call to go, but I'm going to talk about it. You know, as women, so many of us were, when I say taught, I don't mean that your parents sat you down and said this to you. But we learned to like be small and not take up too much space. And like, I know for me, I learned not to draw too much attention to my physical body. So that meant, like, I think about you and your comfort. Like, for me, it is like there's not going to be bling or sparkles or even crazy prints, because part of it is because that's the way that I naturally express, sure. But another part of it is because, like, let's not draw too much attention to this. Um, it's like I start a sentence and then it leaves. It's gone.
I'm feeling that way too at this point in our conversation. It's kind of funny. But yeah, I think I didn't really know where we're going to go. I just had a couple notes, but we've talked about all of them. I think the biggest takeaway that I've experienced in the last year, which you guys have heard a million times, but you're here, so I'm going to tell you again, is that our whole being needs attention, right? Our whole entire being. And I've always known this, but there have been times in my life where I didn't prioritize my body, and that's okay. I'm still here, but I didn't feel as good. And you can do chicken and egg all you want, but caring about yourself more, whether that means you're going to just paint your nails more because you like how it looks, or you're going to take a walk, or you're going to meditate, or you're going to journal, putting more emphasis on care is going to help you find inspiration to bring up the other areas in your life. So the more I care about myself and do those things, those self-care things, and the more I care about my body, the more capacity I have for bigger and better manifestations, right? So if there's any part of you that's feeling a little stagnant, pick something that feels easy to work on, whether that's sleeping more or asking yourself, how do I want to feel today before you get out of bed, or cuddling with your cat, or going to the gym, whatever it is, just pick something that feels like your path of least resistance, because it will raise everything up eventually, because that's how we work. We're multidimensional beings and we get multidimensional results. And yeah, I'm so grateful that I've had this huge uptick in sensory pleasure and ease and friendships and business ideas and all of the things now, because it's all catching up. And it's so worth it to care about yourself. If there's anything you want to do in this life, just care about yourself more. You're going to reap amazing rewards from that.
Rachel, I had an epiphany.
Ooh.
As you were talking about it. Well, just like I tend to like I can sometimes be like black and white, or I need to like look for the right way. And I know you're not surprised by this. And I really liked what you said about like you can chicken and egg it all day long. It doesn't really matter. And I love that because self-care has always been a struggle for me because I feel like, well, is self-care like, is it going to the spa? Is it like, if I need to take care of myself more right now, what is it? Do I need to meditate more? Do I need to run more? Do I need to like, and so, and I don't really want to go to the spa. That's not like, or sometimes I'm like, oh, hell yes, bring me to the spa. And so what I like about what you just said is like, Carrie, just find your path of least resistance. Remember that one thing leads to the other. And I'm yawning as I'm saying it. Care for yourself, whether that's for your physical body or your non-physical self, matters. And what one affects the other. I knew that, but I heard it differently for the first time today.
Excellent. And I just want to shout out Carrie because when she started our BFF mastermind 7 years ago or something, we had these like bylaws. And within that was everyone needs to be physically active in some way every single day. And I was not, for sure. But she'd even lead us through these really cool like physical alignment processes, and she would talk about it a lot. And she's just been such a great influence on me in that respect because I also identify like her as someone who really does need and enjoy intense physical activity. I just didn't give it to myself. And I went in and out of thinking about it even for years. So, there are people around you as well who can help you. You have people in your community right now who are wanting to do the thing you want to do. And so find the support too. If there's something you've been wanting to try out, find someone who'll do it with you, because it makes it a lot more fun.
Amen. Yes. And thank you for reminding me of that because I remember, right, as the years have gone by, I've maybe become like less and less identified with the physical, as I was then, where it was like the physical matters so much.
Yeah,
The truth is, it all matters.
exactly. It all matters. You all matter. And you get to decide where you want to start because you're going to come full circle at some point. All right. Well, this was really fun. I loved this conversation. Thank you, Dale and Guillaume and Katerina, for commenting. Hello, everyone else watching the replay. We love you too. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.